Aloha mai kako. This is Ellen Kainoa. I'm an author and blogger writing love stories about mainland Polynesians, and you're listening to Annie Talks.
Annie Talks, Annie Talks. Welcome to the show. Here we go with Annie Talks. Annie Talks, Annie Talks. Welcome to the show. Here's the host, it's Annie Talks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Annie Talks, where we bring to you interesting stories about interesting people that you want to know about. I'm your host, Annie Rivera. Thank you for tuning in, and to those who have already subscribed. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you hear, and if so, I personally invite you to subscribe. Annie Talks is brought to you by Daily Gadgets and More. Daily Gadgets and More is proud and committed to offering the largest variety of high-quality products at the lowest prices and the best customer service. Find us on Instagram or visit dailygadgetsandmore.com. That's dailygadgetsandmore.com. My guest on this episode of Annie Talks is Ellen Kainoa. Ellen is an author, wife, and proud mama of 2 kids. She has lived in Orange County, California almost all her life and grew up alongside a gaggle of tight-knit siblings and cousins. She is one of 10 authors included in the Romancing the Season, an anthology of holiday romance from sweet to hot book. Ellen writes contemporary romance about mainland Polynesians featuring characters Lani, Afu, Mata, and Jorge, who will make cameos in the upcoming Kahele series. So, without further delay, here now is my conversation with Ellen Kainoa. Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. I'm so happy to finally get to meet you virtually. We've known each other, in similar friend circles and events and things of that nature. So I've actually today finally got to meet you, and I'm super excited. So thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Yay. So for our listeners, why don't you give a sense of your background, leading up to the Ellen Kainoa today, why don't you share with us the world of Ellen?
So I grew up mostly here in Orange County, California. My parents are originally from the Big Island of Hawaii, and they moved here before my brother was born, my older brother. And so my mom is a twin. She has an identical twin.
Wow.
And it's kind of funny because my mom has 1 boy and 3 girls, and my aunt has 3 boys and 1 girl.
Oh,
they're like a perfect mirror.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. So the 8 of us grew up as if we were like one pack of people, So,
right.
So we grew up with like that really tight knit, Hawaiian family system where like your cousins are your siblings and your aunt is like your mom. And, that's always like really influenced, I think, all of us, throughout our lives. Like cousins are really important to us. Family is very important. And, even though we grew up here on the mainland, like we have that strong cultural tie. Right. And even as adults, we are all still hanging out together and like taking cousin trips.
That is so cool because it's ingrained in you now because ohana, and for those who don't know the word ohana, is family in Hawaiian, but that ohana, that family, that tight knit cultural genesis or nucleus rather is ingrained in you, and it's I love that, and you carry it on to your own family, and I think that's beautiful. I love that. I love all of that. So, and then now, what was it like growing up in that Hawaiian cultural family for you?
So it was really great. It was interesting because you had like very separate ideas of family from like people at school versus your home life. Like people at school were like, well, it's just your cousin's birthday. Who cares if you don't go? And they're like, how can you even say that? I have to, of course, be there and make a cake and all this stuff. And it's funny because, you have like kind of a disconnect from people who are only from the mainland, who don't know anything about like any of those other cultures. And then what's great about California, though, is I feel like a lot of communities do have like these little like hot spots for Polynesians. You know what I mean? Like Carson.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my
if
gosh.
you go to Carson, all the Samoans are there. You know?
Yeah, that's my hometown. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, you can definitely like find other Polynesians and you see how like, how close knit, how much family means to everybody, you know, and you really like get very close to those people. And it totally informs like everything. Like I even now to this day, like my whole blog is all about like activities that I do that is like Hawaiian culture on the mainland.
Right. That's awesome. Yay. So we get a taste of the Hawaiian culture here on the mainland, which I think it's, you know, through the eyes of Ellen. And for those, you know, we kind of just live vicariously through you, I think. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, so you're an author. That's one of the reasons why we're talking. But have you always wanted to be an author, or did you have an aha moment that made you decide, this is what I want to do. I want to be an author.
So I think firstly, I'm a reader. Like I am an avid reader. I read across like all genres. I have always loved to read. Mm-hmm. And then when I was about 6, so like kindergarten age, I started writing letters to all of my grandparents. Anyone who lived out of state, you were getting a letter from me. And like one of my cousins, I saw him, he's lived in Hawaii all of his life. I've, you know, met him periodically throughout my life, but like he said that he always felt very connected to me because I was always writing him all these letters and he still had all of them. Mm-hmm. And I think from like maybe like a subconscious level, like I really liked the idea of connecting to a reader. Yeah. And I think that's where like, maybe that's where that whole feeling of, oh yeah, I want to write something down and I want someone to read it. You know?
Right. Yeah.
It's both steps to be, to want to go on to be an author. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 14, I wrote this like epic fantasy with like novelization of like, you know, like a made up world with maps and family trees. And like, I wrote it all in like gel pen in a notebook. Mm-hmm. And I passed it around to my friends at school and I passed it around to my cousins and anyone who made like long eye contact with me. Yeah, you were going to get that notebook and I was going to let you read the whole thing. And it was like,
wow. That's awesome.
So yeah, I think from there I wanted to be an author.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the inspiration has to start somewhere, I think, you know, and that's about like, how old do you think that you were when that was about or coming about?
I think I was like 14 when I wrote that one. Yeah.
That's interesting because at 14, what was I doing? I think at 14, gosh, I was barely trying to pass or get through from, at the time it wasn't called middle school. It was junior high school to high school. So the last thing on my mind was, you know, I'd love to read then, but I was forced to read. So, you know, then it became kind of a chore. Like I have to read this book because I was told to read this book in school. And so I don't think I became much of a reader, actually an avid reader, until later in life. So now collecting books or having books is, a really good thing to have. So I really like that about Now that like that restriction is taken off of you of like being told exactly what you have to read and you have to like this and you have to have intelligent things to say about it. Right. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So part of what we're going to talk about today is the book Romancing the Season, an anthology of holiday romance from sweet to hot. Tell us about that and how you're involved with that.
So it's an anthology with myself and 10 other authors. So there's a total of 11 stories in there. And mine is called New Year, Same Me, with Lani and Afu as my main characters. And the inspiration for this particular story is like, you can't say anything in front of an author because they will remember and put it in a story. It's like that. I was at a New Year's a New Year Eve party with all my cousins and family friends. And one of my cousins, he had just broken up with his girlfriend and he was like kind of being braggadocious about it and telling everybody about what he said to her to break up with her. And he said something to the effect of like, yeah, I told her I was getting my health right, getting my money right, and that I just need to get rid of all the bad things in my life. And baby, you gotta go.
Ooh.
And I know, right? Like that. Yeah, I know, that stuck with me. I was like, wow, devastating. Like I could just imagine being on the receiving end of that. Like, whoa. And so years later, when I got the chance to write a holiday themed romance, I was like, I'm going to do a New Year's Eve, like fresh off a breakup and how you get over it. And that was the line that starts it all off.
Oh, wow. I love that. I mean, but it stuck with you. It had an impact on you, for all those years. And then, so the opportunity came about, and this was the opportunity. Yeah, this is how to get over a breakup. I love that. So how do you get over a breakup?
You go out with a really hot firefighter.
That's the key, you guys. That's the key.
Yeah. So make sure you have one of those just in the lineup, ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So now, I'm curious for me to know, how does the selection of, say, 10 to 11 authors come about? Is it something? I mean, because I don't know anything about how to get published or how an author is selected for, certain stories. So tell us about that. Tell us a little bit, walk us through, and give us kind of a mind's eye view about that.
Okay, so it was actually it's kind of a long story. So a few years ago, I decided to get a little more serious about writing. And I took some pages of what I was working on into a workshop at, do you know, there's a romance-only bookstore in Culver City called The Ripped Bodice.
No.
It's very cool.
Wow.
Make a trip. It's awesome. It's a beautiful space for romance readers and lovers. It's amazing.
Wow.
They do amazing window displays. Anyway, so they had this workshop there, and the person that was in charge of the workshop is Jeannie DeVita, and she's the editor of this anthology. And so she was hosting this workshop for people that are just learning how to write romances, like a 101 class almost. So I took a lot of what she taught us in the workshop. And then I reached out to her again to work with her on a freelance level. And, thankfully, because I worked with her, I was actually successfully able to submit to, there's a thing on Twitter called Karina Pitch. It's one of many pitches where you can pitch your story to a publisher, like cold, like you don't need to send in a query or anything. You just literally pitch during this time with the right hashtag, and editors from that publisher can decide whether or not they want to ask you for the rest of your story. And I was able to successfully do that. So I was just one of many people that Jeannie was working with. And we kind of became friends, and so she asked me and a few other people that she had been working with if they wanted to do an anthology. Because anthologies are really popular during the holiday season, and Valentine's Day. So they're like samplings of a lot of different writers. So you get a chance to read like different genres, different writers, different styles, all in one one spot.
Right.
So really, it was more just as it is independently published. So Jeannie, as the editor, was able to collect everyone's stories and edit them. And then there was there's a lady named Marcy Bordeaux, and she runs a design company called Nerdy Cat Designs. Sorry, let me get this right. Nerdy Cat Books Designs.
Okay.
And she was the one who did all of the formatting and the cover art and all of that for the anthology. And so what was great was we got it all together, and it got published, and it was out on Amazon. And then 2 different bookstores actually bought print copies of our book and sold them in their storefront, including Ripped Bodice, which was a full circle thing.
Right. Oh, that's so awesome. But now I understand that it's because it was a seasonal print.
Right.
So it's no longer available then. So how can readers and followers like read it? How can they get it from you, or can they?
So at this time, it's not available at all.
Okay.
But we are planning to do another anthology in this spring, hopefully. But what I would like to do is to take the rights have returned to me. for my short stories. So that will probably be available to readers that want to learn more about me on my blog.
Okay. So tell us your blog.
Okay. So it's Hawaiian Mama Writes. So HWNMAMAWRITES .wordpress.com.
Okay, so everybody can follow her there, and then you'll keep everybody updated as to, you know, your upcoming adventures and when you're be able to go into print again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So that's a fabulous way to follow her, everybody. But she also writes this in her blog. She has really cute stories in her blog. So you might want to just follow along because I was reading through some of the things that she was talking about, especially in writing her portion of the romancing this season. She was all these things that she came to know about marketing, which I thought was very interesting. So some of the things that I do on the normal for marketing are the things that you discovered. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly it. Yep, that's exactly it. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah, because that's what I do. I do marketing and do digital media and social media and public relations and that kind of thing. That's kind of my background. So we should talk. Anyways, so now, tell us a little bit more about the inspirations behind your characters. I know that Lani and Afu are the main characters, and you also mentioned Mata and Jorge, who are kind of the secondary characters. So tell us a little about them.
Yeah. So Lani is very much so based off of like so many of my cousins. They're so beautiful and they're strong-willed, and you know they're very like tough, strong women, and they've got like that hard outside with the gooey insides, you know.
Right.
So that's really who inspires Lani. Just all of my cousins, and like you know, just a lot of love goes into her. I love writing her anytime I get a chance to, and put her in a scene, and it feels like just dialogue comes so naturally when she's in a scene. So, and then Afu is inspired by an actor, Joe Naufahu. And so the first time I saw him was on Game of Thrones, and he plays like one of the, I don't know, Khal Drogo's secondhand guy or something. He doesn't look great in that, but so I follow him on Instagram, and he does a lot of workouts, and wow. And it's very inspiring. Okay. In many ways.
Okay. That's awesome. I love the backstories. I love learning about them. So great. And then now who inspired Mata and Jorge?
So Mata and Jorge are the other couple in there, and Mata is a very like, he's another of the cousins. So he and Lani are cousins in the story, and he's like also based on a lot of my cousins who are very extra, and, but also like very very fiercely protective of their family. You know, that's someone who's just, you know, the life of the party, and you never think they have a serious side until they do get serious, and it's only if, you know, someone's provoking their family, they are on top of it. And Jorge is his love interest, and he's another firefighter, so he's like Afu's roommate, and they play off of each other very nicely.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, so I'm excited to kind of, you know, get into the world of Lani, Afu, and Mata and Jorge. So I'm excited. So when that new series comes about, please let me know, because I'm going to, I'd love to like check it out.
Oh, all right.
I'm gonna get mesmerized in this world of Lani and Afu. So sounds very romantic. So I'm sure it is. But now, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write contemporary romance about mainland Polynesia or Polynesians.
Okay, yeah. So I had wanted to write romance for a while. You know, at least like the last 5 years, I wanted to get into it. And I kept trying to come up with characters, and they were just so flat, and there was just nothing there. And it literally had not occurred to me to write Polynesians. Like, I was always writing Caucasian people, because in all of the books that I had read in that genre, they were all white people. And so I just assumed that was a standard, and it just didn't occur to me. And then I found this Tilasa series, and it's a YA book by Lani Young, and it's set in Samoa, but the main character, Layla, is from the United States, and she goes back to Samoa to like reconnect with her mom. And it's an amazing story, and it centers Polynesian people. And then she wrote another series that's a romance called the Scarlet series. And there again, it's centered Polynesian people, Polynesian characters who were connected to their family, connected to their culture, connected to their food, and having that be their background. I had never even realized how badly I craved that representation until I read that book. And even though it's not set here, I was like, but I'm a reader, and I want to read stories about Polynesians that live here on the mainland, who fall in love and have these rich family dynamics. Because, you know, you read some other books, like Polynesians are in it, but it's like a throwaway, like, oh, you know, they look like this and they must be some kind of Polynesian. And they do it for like the superficial features, but they're all like disconnected from their families. And you're like, where are all your cousins? Like, sure, he's huge, but where's all of his like equally huge cousins? Where's his mom? Where's his aunties? Like, where are all of these people that connect them to their culture?
Right.
And it's like absent because, you know, people don't necessarily know how to write that. So I was just really, having read that and realizing that was what I wanted to read more of, I was like, well, then I should be writing it if that's what I want to read.
I love that. So it not only does it cover, you know, representation, you know, of that genre that you want to read, but you also you're already immersed in that genre because you are Polynesian. And, you know, I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head that there is a stereotype, you know, with Polynesians. There's, you know, they look this way. They do this. They sing. Of course, they sing well, and of course they dance well, and of course they, you know, they look like goddesses and gods, right? All this, right? But then, you know, but there's true life romance, and there's true life, you know, drama or whatever it may be that are not depicted, you know, in at least truthfully, right? In such a way. So I like that you're doing that, and I'm super excited for you. I think that's pioneering and very groundbreaking. So, you know, I think, you know, if we can get everybody onto your writing and your books, and I think we just might, you know, have stumbled onto something quite nicely there, Miss Ellen.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I would love for people to connect with it and to have that same moment of like feeling very seen in the world, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I hope you're enjoying this podcast episode. We'll be right back after this short message from one of our sponsors. Comfotherm thermal wraps are designed to help relieve the pain and swelling in and around the jaw, especially after wisdom teeth extractions. For more information, visit comfotherm.com. That's comfotherm.com. Hey there, Annie Rivera here. Thanks for tuning in to Annie Talks. Be sure to tell your friends about subscribing to the podcast, and don't forget to rate and review the podcast. Doing so helps out with the algorithm and helps others to find this podcast too. I also invite you to like my Annie Talks Facebook page. There you'll find other news, information, upcoming events, and all sorts of things. Stay in the know with Annie Talks. I also invite you to join the Annie Talks Community Facebook group, where we carry the conversation from the podcast episode to the Facebook group. Ask questions about the episode, about a guest, about the locations, you name it. Ask away. This forum is for you. See you on the Annie Talks Community Facebook group. So now what's next for Ellen? I know in the next couple of months, at least, we can expect to see, you know, a new book series or at least a new book in what we hope to be, you know, a series. But where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years?
So I am hoping to get my Kahele series picked up, which is like my full-length novel series, follows the Kahele siblings. So there's 6 of them. So hopefully, maybe in the next few years, all 6 books will be out, and then I can move on to writing full-length novels of all of the cousins. And that's really my dream right there.
Yay. Oh my goodness. Who knows? I mean, it just starts now. So we may be talking to like the next J.K. Rowling's right here, everybody. So, you know, and then I'll be one of those, I knew her when, you know.
Yes.
Yay.
You can like totally hold this over everybody's head. I've interviewed her first. This is my first one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're excited for you, and we're going to be keeping an eye out for you. So we'll follow you. We'll follow you along on your social media and your blog for sure. Now, for people who want to aspire to be like yourself, to be an author, to be a writer, what words of wisdom can you share with them? What can you instill on them?
I think I'm going to go ahead and steal some words of wisdom that I heard from someone else.
Okay.
Julia Quinn, I was at a book signing and someone asked her the same exact question. And she said, you can't edit a blank page.
Oh.
And that is so true. Like you have to write something down. So my advice is if you feel like you want to be an author, if you feel like you want to be a writer, I know it's daunting to look at that blank page, but just fill that empty space with all of your words, get it down, get your story down, and then edit it, and then keep editing it until you think it's ready, and then put it down, and then edit it again. And then, you know, the second piece of advice would be go and find a writing community that you can be a part of. Find people that write in your genre that can get eyes on your work and give you critique that is specific to your genre, and that from people who actually understand the conventions of your genre. Because friends are great and sometimes they just help you get words on the page, but having other people that are like slogging through the same experience as you and who are struggling with some of the same things, that can really just elevate your work into a level of like publishing. Mm-hmm. I think that can be sometimes for some people the difference. So that would be my 2 pieces of advice. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, you have to start. You just have to start. So that's absolutely true. I remember when I was creating my YouTube channel and my podcast, well, first my YouTube channel 2 years ago, I knew I wanted to do this. I knew, you know, I had the creativity to do it. You know, they even tell you, you don't even have to start with the most expensive cameras. You just start with your smartphone. You can start with this, you can start with that. But the most important thing was to just start, just create something. And, you know, and it's true, like you said, because you may have a blank canvas, but that canvas doesn't necessarily need to stay blank for so long you know,
right.
You just need to just put pen to paper, or, you know, in my case, film, you just press on that play button or record button. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're right. Absolutely. And I 100% agree with that. So you can't start, or rather you can't be until you start. Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Ooh, I love your words of wisdom. So everybody say that one more time so that everybody hears that very strongly.
You can't edit a blank page.
There you go, you guys. You can't edit a blank page. So start. Just start. I love that. Mm-hmm. So now we talked a little bit about that we cannot get Romancing the Season currently, but we can follow Ellen on her blog, and tell everybody one more time the name of your blog.
Hawaiian Mama Writes. So HWNMAMAWRITES.wordpress.com. That's my blog. Mm-hmm. And I always update my blog on my Twitter. So it's at Ellen Kainoa. So ELLEN, no space, KAINOA.
Awesome. And is it just Twitter, or you said, is it just Twitter?
Twitter and also Instagram, but don't judge me. I'm still learning. It's at Kainoa Ellen. Also no spaces, but yeah, I'm still trying to learn that one.
Oh, don't worry about it. No judgment here. You know, we're all family, and we're all here to help one another and empower and inspire one another. So I'm so happy to have you on the show, and I'm super excited to see, you know, what's next for you. So I'm going to keep a close eye on your blog. We're all going to keep a close eye on your blog. We're all going to, follow the adventures of Ellen through your story. So, and everybody that's listening, if you're like me, I love a good romance, and, I'm excited to learn more about and to live and see through the eyes of Ellen, the life of Lani, Afu, Mata, and Jorge. So I'm looking forward to seeing and reading that. So thank you so much. So everybody, this is Ellen Kainoa. So make sure you follow her on your social media and on her blog, and you'll see all the wonderful things that are going to be happening coming down the pike. Ellen, thank you so much for being on the show. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Annie Talks and learning about Ellen Kainoa. Don't forget to check out her blog and follow her on social media. I will have all that information in the show notes below, so be sure to check them out. Now, before you go, if you haven't already subscribed to the Annie Talks podcast, I invite you to hit subscribe and be notified anytime we upload a new episode. If you could also rate and review my podcast, it would surely help me out, and it will help others to find this podcast too. You can also follow Annie Talks on social media. I will have all the social media links down below in the show notes as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and keep listening to Annie Talks.
Aloha mai kākou. This is Ellen Kainoa. I'm an author and blogger writing love stories about mainland Polynesians, and you're listening to Annie Talks.